Okay, g'day. Welcome to the Forbidden History Chronicles. Hi Lynn, that's okay, I'm just glad you're here. Yeah, I wasn't sure where everybody is at the moment. And sending prayers to Creating Light for Liz and her mum. They're going through it at the moment, so anyway, we'll get on with it. You're listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. And I will just go ahead with the introduction. Signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time. Who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were, the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc., It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Desert discusses the ultimate in mind control and ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective, constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water to tainted vaccines to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate. But they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. Written by Dezert-Owl. I'd like to welcome Desert to the program. G'day, how's it going?
Hi, Ninja. Doing okay, thank you. I will have trouble with my throat today, so we probably won't talk as long.
That's okay.
And I didn't want to plow through a lot of reading either. I would rather try to entertain any questions that you or anybody else might have here on the broadcast. And because I think you had mentioned you were trying to keep a list, weren't you?
I was trying to keep a list, but it's not a very organised one, does it?
I see. The planet's not organized either, so probably don't matter, you know.
I have like wows at the weirdest and worst times, and I write them down, and they're kind of all over the place. So.
All right. Well, maybe I can start by opening on symbolism, because this is my read.
Okay.
Just as you called this morning, and so let me do that.
Okay, I'll try.
We must not. This is out of LAMSA, the Old Testament Light, and it's a good one. It's a section out of his introduction. We must not forget that this great sacred literature was revealed in visions and dreams, in arid deserts, in caves, and upon tops of mountains, and that the simple and pure people, like the star navigators, believed in visions, dreams, and divine communication. The Israelites were directed and guided in all their wandering in the desert by a great spiritual power which they could not see or touch. This is why a large portion of the scriptures are based on the visions and revelations. Many of these truths were revealed in symbols and metaphors. so that the people may comprehend them and remember them. It is not easy to describe ideas such as depression, famine, suffering, joy, or sadness, but they can be revealed in symbols, in dreams, and in visions. One can easily comprehend the significance of fat cows and lean cows, or blasted ears of wheat, or full, ripe ears of wheat. Boleshafei Joseph, being a student of Yahweh's Eshavor's words and the interpreter of visions and dreams, knew the meaning of the symbols. When Pharaoh had seen in his vision during the night, he knew that the fat cows and full ears of wheat meant prosperity, and that the lean cows and the blasted ears of wheat meant depression. Not to mention that the cows came up out of the river, and so it was going to be due to an event that happened with the river, which was that it overflowed, it flooded, it had too much water, and that's why they came up out of the river. And most people don't get that; they think it was a drought, but it wasn't a drought; it was a flood.
Okay.
Every Bible student should know something about the inner voice, visions, and dreams and their meaning. He also should distinguish between such men as Elijah, Elisha, and Isaiah. Elijah is Eliel, Uleal. Elisha is Ulesha, and Isaiah is Eshayael. That's how they've corrupted these words, so that we would never get the original root form. And the prodigal son as well. The good Samaritan, let me just back up because we lost the train here. He also should distinguish between such men as Elijah, Elisha, and Isaiah, and the prodigal son. The good Samaritan, the rich man who enlarged his barns, and royal messengers, Malachim, falsely called angels, who appeared to Ashan, men of Yahweh, in visions and dreams. And very often they were walking right in front of them. For instance, because they were people. For instance, it was in a dream that Yahweh wrestled with the Malach. This was brought out in another part of his work, that this wrestling was really in his mind. It wasn't that he literally wrestled with a royal messenger. He was wrestling with himself and trying to reach Yahweh. And so they tell the story like it's literal.
And people take it that way.
Like, just like in Job, where it says, and Satan went up to talk to Yahweh to get in his face. That didn't happen. It's all to create a story, to get a picture. So continuing, for instance, it was in a dream that Yahweh wrestled with here he's saying in a dream. Of course, no matter whether it was in a dream or whether he was praying, I feel he was praying and under a lot of distress and couldn't sleep. Genesis 32:24 through 29. The royal messenger was Eshayael. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Okay. He was wrestling with his brother, in other words, what it's saying here, that what he was wrestling with in his mind was the royal messenger who actually sold his birthright. That's an interesting part of this here. And and the next day, Yahweh said to Eshayael, the next day, because now I have seen your face, as I saw the face of the royal messenger, and you were pleased with me. Genesis 33:10. So you see, there's more that's below the surface, Ninja, and trying to really these are at best they're all mistranslated scriptures. They're none of them are perfect by any sense of the imagination. That they are lacking tremendously, and through time and space, and then other people, other tongues, one out of another one. So it's literally, we have no idea what these scriptures really were like, for the most part. In Aramaic, pious men are called, here it says angels, of course, it means Malachim, royal messengers. But real, and then Yokove wrestled in his disturbed mind. There you go. He wrestled in his disturbed mind. He had deceived his brother Eshayon, and therefore he had a guilty conscience. Of course he did.
Okay. Yeah.
Genesis 32:11, and his brother was killed Nimrod. His brother was a mighty hunter, so his brother had the ability to take him out in a heartbeat. So yeah, he was really wrestling. As we have said, a large portion of the sacred books are based on visions which the Eshan of Yahweh saw. It was in a vision that Abraham entertained Yahweh, and the two Malachim and Yahweh ate meat with him. Of course, they were there. I think these were all. We know one was Melchizedek, who was Shem, correctly Esham, but the others I think were Ham and Japheth, the three sons of Noah, and it was in a night vision that Eshayon saw Malachim worshiping Yahweh. It was in a vision that Ezekiel came Atzakiel. I have to literally look that one up to remember the original spelling on that one, but that's a tongue twister. Came in the spirit to Yerushalayim Shalom and measured the temple. It was in visions and dreams that Dane-Ul saw the rise and fall of many empires. In biblical days, kings, princes, and the people depended on their star messengers and on Yahweh's revelations for guidance, healing, prosperity, and protection. Moreover, star messengers and Eshan of Yahweh acted as statesmen and counselors to Malachim and princes. Both the people and their leaders were looking to Yahweh for his help, guidance, and fulfillment of his promises. Indeed, in the ancient time, the ancient time was in its infancy, and learned men were few. Therefore, the star messengers wrote in a simple, pictorial, and clear style, devoid of its buts and other qualifying clauses, which often obscure the truth. They wrote in a plain manner, using short sentences so that simple and the unlearned folk might comprehend their message, heed their admonitions, and turn from their blind ways. Indeed, these courageous Eshan of Yahweh did not hide anything from the people, neither were they afraid of Malachim and princes, were often opposed to Yahweh's truth and reforms. In other words, the authors of the Shofar, the Bible, were not interested in literary style or degrees. Their main objective was to impart the revealed truth to the ears and eyes of a people who thought and spoke in simple speech and who count.
You there, Desert? Okay, that was weird. Okay, we got cut off. I'm just going to try calling him back. We'll see how we go. We are live.
Back.
Okay. You okay? You're good?
What know?
No, it just stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just been
Right.
weird techie stuff tonight, so not surprised.
Okay, so let's pick it up.
Okay.
Your stream is still running, right?
Yes, it is, and we just got another listener, so yay.
All right. Let me find out where I left off now. Okay, here it is. Okay, so in other words, do you remember this part? In other words, the authors of the Bible, the shofar, were not interested in literary style or degrees?
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
All right. Their main objective was to impart the revealed truths to the ears and eyes of a people who sought and spoke in simple speech and who counted numerals on their fingers. And yet the beauty and the style of the shofar Bible has never been surpassed. No one has since been able to write or produce such an inspiring and lasting literature. And I was going to add something to that.
Okay, just while you're pausing, I've still got a green line, but I've got a circle, and the chat has been disconnected.
Are you getting a radio check? That's for a radio check.
Okay. I'm just typing as well. Okay, my message just worked. Lynn, can you still hear us? I'm getting weirdness on this end. There's a delay, so just wait for a minute.
Are we still broadcasting?
We're still streaming, but I've got a circle and it said chat disconnected, but the OBS was fine all the way through. But yeah, it's just.
So do I continue or what?
Waiting for a reply. Yeah, we'll continue because according to all of this, we're still streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So nevertheless, the Shofar Bible contains many expressions and mannerisms of speech, many local idioms that no foreigner without the knowledge of the background of ancient Aramaic diction and the issue which existed during the time of the author could comprehend. In the same way, of course, American customs and ways of life are difficult for a foreigner to comprehend. For example, 3,000 years ago, a psalmist wrote, "They that sow in tears will reap in joy. He who goes forth and weeps, bearing precious seed, will doubtless come again and with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him." Psalm 126, 5 and 6. The people who heard these Eshavors, these words, certainly comprehended what the psalmist meant. In Palestine, every family in one way or another felt the scarcity of bread during the sowing season, when the family food supplies, which had been stored for the fall, were exhausted.
Okay, Desert, I'm sorry. I'm just going to hit refresh.
All right.
Wow. Okay, I think we're still going. I'm not sure.
Okay.
All
right. Well, you'll find out. Somebody will give you a message.
Yeah, Lynn's been typing stuff, and I couldn't see it. So, but she could hear. So, please continue.
Right.
Okay.
So even today in the East, farmers weep as they scatter the precious seed into the ground, while their little ones at home are starving. But during the harvest season, the tears change to joy, and on the first day of the harvest, the people celebrate because bread is abundant, and the little ones are filled and happy. Of course, that song has a double meaning. because we just got the literal picture of it, but again, it is about sowing. They that sow in tears will reap in joy.
Yeah.
So we could be talking about sowing into the spiritual effort, and as you know, suffering persecution and having tears as a result. So he who goes forth and weeps, bearing precious seed, a precious seed, obviously is this truth that Yahweh is conveying to us. So that's precious seed. He who goes forth and weeps, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing the sheaves with him. So, double meaning.
Yeah.
People in biblical land suffer from famine, but people, then we can talk about starving for truth too, right?
Yeah.
The people in biblical land suffer from famine, as well as starving from truth. But the people in America suffer from overeating. Today, no American minister or Bible student would ever know why the sower wept as he scattered his seed. American farmers sing while they sow and plant, and they are seldom short of bread. In the United States, the only problem is that they do with the surplus wheat. In the United States, the only problem is what to do with the surplus wheat and other food supplies. Paul wrote to Philemon, put it on my account. I, Dezert-Owl, Paul, have written this with my own hand. I will repay it. Verse 18-19. Philemon comprehended what Dezert-Owl meant by put it on my account. In Aramaic, it means forget it. The last part of the verse proves that Philemon owed Dezert-Owl a great debt, his conversion to Moeshiyah. Why? Because he thought of him to give him truth. And so he was worthy of gratitude. Yet Western commentators have pictured Philemon as a banker and a money lender from whom Dezert-Owl borrowed money. Today in English we say, write it on the cuff. When one of Yeshua's truth seekers said to him, Healer, Sunrise, suffer me first to go and bury my father, Matthew 8:21-22, Yeshua knew that what he meant was, let me take care of my father until he dies. Western Bible scholars have been teaching that this man's father had just died, and Yeshua was not interested in seeing him buried. Had the man's father been dead already, he would have been busy burying him instead of listening to Yeshua. And Yeshua himself might have been one of the mourners. On another occasion, Yeshua said, and if your right hand offend you, cut it off and cast it from you. And the people who heard this would never cut off hands or feet or pluck out one of their eyes. They knew that Yeshua meant what he meant was to do away with stealing, with envy, and with trespassing on other men's properties. And beyond that, it could mean, wherever you go, that it you end up falling from grace. Stop going wherever, you're going, or stop doing whatever you're doing, or stop, looking at whatever should not be looked at, is also a more direct another implication of these metaphors. In many Western lands, these idioms were taken literally, but there is no medium in the Bible, shofar, that any of Yeshua's disciples or followers ever inflicted such injuries on their own bodies. It is natural that such idioms should be mistranslated or misinterpreted. And just as the Aramaic idiom and metaphors are hard for Westerners, so English, French, and German idioms are hard for Easterners to comprehend. For instance, no Easterner would comprehend such English phrases as these. He lost his shirt. He died on third base. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He is in hot water. he was chewing the rag, and I could include he was stiff as a board, things like that. Many other such sayings bewilder foreign students when translated from one tongue into another, and often lose their original meaning. This is because it is difficult to find equivalent words, écheveleurs, to give the same shade of meaning, or to put it the same way. Then again, parables are derived from customs of the people which sometimes have no equivalent in other lands. For example, Yeshua said, "No one knows when the bridegroom and the bride come to the house of the wedding." Westerners do not know the hour of the ceremonies, but in the East, no one knows the time, simply because no one knows when the bridegroom and the bride would be bathed and clothed in their wedding garments. At times, it may take hours before one can procure water. On the other hand, Easterners are never concerned about the time, nor are they prompt in keeping their engagements. Time is of no particular importance. Therefore, the reader of the English Shultre, English Bible, must remember the English Bible, must remember that he is reading a translation of a translation of a translation of pure anointed Shultres, aka the Holy Bible, into totally alien and a modern tongue. A tongue which did not even exist when the shofar of the Bible was written. Thus he is bewildered when he reads contradictory and repulsive sayings. For example, in Matthew's Gospel, he is star message of light, Matthew's star message of light, of enlightenment. His Gospel is told to love and honor father and mother, and to love even his mother and his wife and little ones and the rest of his relatives in order to be a loyal follower of Yeshua. And yet we know Yeshua was not a teacher of hatred, but a teacher of love. He even reversed the Mosaic ordinance when he said, "Love your enemies and pray for those who hate you." Matthew 5:44. And I think he's referring back to the mistranslation of the scripture that says, "For if you hate not your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, and even your own life, you are not worthy of the kingdom of heaven." And so,
because that's
another
hate.
term that was used correctly for that and escapes me at the moment. But anyway, we'll continue here. And the Aramaic word, I'll tell you what, give out my confirmation. We're trying to raise funds for our move, Ninja, and if you can give out the contact, I need to just take a quick call break and soothe my throat. Okay.
Creating light for your throat, Desert. At the moment, Desert is trying to find funds so that he can move, and also is working on the greatest transliterational, I hope I said that right, I'm a bit tired, project of all time. So if you would like to help him out, would be greatly appreciated. Any size donation, all you have to do is go to www.therealpublicradio.net. That's www.therealpublicradio.net, and you can donate there. In doing that, we will give you some PDFs to help you see and read it for yourself. You can just contact me because Desert can't access his account at the moment either, with technical issues. So my email is in every description on these live streams on the Forbidden History Chronicles. So contact me for the PDFs. If you can't afford to donate, we will send you them anyway. They're very handy to have. You will get a copy of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, also a copy of the Book of Wisdom, and a sample of the original Gospel with a more up-to-date version of the dictionary at the back of it. You can also give Desert a call, maybe when his throat is a little bit better though. But he loves to talk and answer any questions. You can call him on 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. If you're international, just put a +1 at the start. We do welcome live callers on this program, but I don't know how we're going tonight. Whether I don't know. We'll see how Desert Stroke goes. But yeah, we do welcome live callers. You can send Desert a text. We're very techie. To be able to do a live call, you need to send Desert a text so he can call you. You can also Skype him on Free America Radio. That's all one word, Free America Radio. And I think that's it. I think I covered it all. You good, Desert? You okay?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So let me get back over here, and thank you. We're just after 40 years of prep. I was just wrapping up to start word processing. Got all set and good to go, and then we're being put on the street by the real estate management company here in town. It's the second time the same people did it to me, and they did a different deal at the other house, and I won't get into that, but Millersburg is an occultic town run by occultists, and they hate people who know as much as they do, and then maybe even a little more. And certainly when they pretend the light, talking about the secret societies, Freemasonry, they hate people who really have the light and the truth, because they're as Masonic means, mother sons of darkness. They are mother sons of darkness, and it's one for all and all for them.
Yeah.
And so that's why our world is so screwed up. That's why we're in trouble today in our world, because evil men have taken their blood oaths to their Lucifer, and love the filthy lucre and the power trip. They figure they're going to have a party for a day. I'd like to know what they're going to do with the rest of their eternity, because eternity is a long time. And if you're going to go naked without the real light, without being clothed in light and with the great breath of the wind and fire, aka the Holy Spirit, then they're in for a rude awakening. And and all those little pleasures they enjoyed will mean nothing. Will mean nothing when they're cast out permanently from the opportunity to be with the One.
Yeah.
And so I pity them. And
I have a question.
And their judgment.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You just made me wonder, because they are in darkness, will they even continue when their physical body dies? Like, because we call but we call them soulless, like not having a soul and all that sort of thing. And our spirit is light, and just trying to wrap my head around a few things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now we, unlike the creatures of the earth, because the creatures of the earth evolved here. We were spontaneously made by Elohim.
Yeah.
Elohim.
Yeah.
And therefore the mother creating on behalf of the father, the physical matter producing on behalf of the spirit, and so we have a soul,
Yeah.
which we use as shul. We're the only ones who walk upright, and I'm not including monkeys are excluded because they don't really walk. They're of a different origin. They're of the earth. We're talking man, which is a bad word, actually, not the right word. Eshan, the creation, the blood of the earth, also known as Adam. He is the only creature that was naked, which was symbolic of the fact that he had to put something on, and he walks upright perfectly, and he has the ability to reason. It's one of his primary senses, is his reasoning, which they don't want us to know as our sixth sense. They don't even mention it in the school. It's rather interesting because they don't want us to think. And so yeah, he has a soul, unlike other animals. We can't define where it is we go. I think it's outside of this universe. This universe is temporal.
Yeah.
Even the sun is temporary. Every planet is temporary. Everything is temporary. Anything that has a beginning has an end.
Yeah, that makes sense
The
because the universe is all physical.
Yeah.
Physical. Yeah.
So the spirit is where we have to go. We want to go is back to before. In other words, as it said, all things were finished prior to Yahweh saying, "Let there be." He designed everything in advance. Everything was good to go. Then when he said, "Let there be," boom, everything happened, by his command, and so it was already designed prior to it even existing, and therefore it's following, the divine law of creation, and all of, the cycles, evolving and everything. And then when the lower garden was finished, the lower garden below the Eden, below the atom, the sun of the garden of atoms, then, this is where he intended for man to live out a drama and to define and to discover himself and to define where it is he wants to go. Whether he wants to be earthbound, good luck, or whether he wants to transcend and to grab the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail, which is the light. That's the true Holy Grail. It's the light. So these people, who are ignoring the treasure that belongs to them and are engaged in their insane game, then they're going to be when they go to the grave. Because see, those who arise in Yeshua, who are risen from the dead, the classic Lazarus come forth. Excuse me, it's the point when we receive the great breath, when we receive the Spirit. And now death no longer has dominion over us. Right now, we're buried in Yeshua, in the grave, wanting soul novation, to become a new star. That's the word soul, a star, soul novation. The star is the great logo, the symbol, because it's beyond that, it's spirit. And so once we prepared ourselves like a bride, we do everything to prepare ourselves, purify, wash, throw off the things that offend. Then the bridegroom comes, and that's the Spirit, that's the Father, that's Yeshua, because he is Father, Son, and Spirit. He is even Mother. He is Elohim. He is all things. He can't go us from the beginning. He comes to us at the end. Of course, male and female look different, so therefore the way it was in the old world is different than the way it was in the revealed truth of the Father. Because in the other world, they were embracing the mother. It was the matriarchy. But through Yeshua, we identify for the first time with the patriarchy. But yet, mother and father are one. They are both in the story. And these things are defined through the metaphysics and through the symbols and the allegories and the stories that we just were reading about. So does that? So we're putting on the light and looking for a resurrection and a marriage, and but these people are claiming the light, and while they're engaged in wickedness, and therefore their retribution, which will ever come, happens to them, the natural law, they can't transcend. So the only other potential is they have to come back again in another life, in another world, perhaps. Not in this one because it looks like it's over, but you look how many stars are out there in the universe. So I figure there's got to be life out there. Another drama. Nature teaches these paradigms. That probably that it's true that there are quite a number of other planets out there with life. Another story, just like this story, but different clothing, different words, different appearances, but similar. And because that's the greatness, he is infinite. He can do all things. Like I'm blown away when it says, he knows how many hairs are on your head, and he knows exactly what you're thinking and going to ask for before you ask. And yet he manages everybody at the same time.
Multitasking.
Of course, we have to be on his frequency. If we're not on his frequency, there's probably he visits us very, very rarely. But anytime we're confronted before him, he can immediately read our history. Our conscience bears record. It's a book.
Wow.
So did I help you out in seeing that a little better?
Yeah, thanks, Desert. Wow, I'm getting a neck ache because I've not sitting back listening. I'm nearly leaning on the phone and listening. Sorry. Yeah, that's just wow. It just boggles the mind. Like you explain it so beautifully, but it's just the wheels in my mind are just spinning at the moment.
Yeah, I'd like to do a presentation on how the universe was made one day. I've done it before. With friends, or I think on a broadcast or two, I may have done it, or on a conference call, and it can be known when one can see deeply, when one can see the metaphysics and the metaphors and the symbols, and the microcosm that's like the macrocosm like the microcosm. Everything is a reflection of everything else.
Yeah.
We are dead center. We are dead in the middle between the atom and the sun, physically. As we cannot see the atom, and there's a million of them in a hair's breadth. That is so finite, it boggles the mind. And so it's this infinite nature. Excuse me, but we know that there was not a Big Bang. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's their cheap excuse, for science. Yet science is exact knowing, and it is possible to know, through the visions that are achieved not just elusively, in the mind, but through being able to read nature and the symbols.
Yeah.
And plus knowing the stories. The stories are telling are cosmological, just like in the story of Ruth. She had two sons. Not Ruth, but Naomi, her mother-in-law. She had two sons, and one of them, his name typifies the sun. The other son typifies the moon. Okay, and so this theme about creation is underlying the themes of all these stories. Many of them, maybe not all. Each one is different, but it's predominant. Okay, it's predominant. Excuse me, I got a cough. Hang on.
Okay, all good. I'll just say g'day to Jace. G'day, how's it going? I hope you're well. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I was a bit worried. For some of our listeners, because I know that the US is going through another bunch of weather at the moment. Some pretty bad weather. Yeah, and I thought either my notification isn't working or people are going through the storm and with power outages and stuff. But
I can feel the ice nucleation. When the vapor of the chemical goes through the air.
Yeah.
I noticed that when even it's 50 degrees, not 30 degrees, which is freezing up here, but 50 degrees, when it's warming up, Like yesterday and on a couple other days I noticed it. Clear, pretty well, predominantly clear,
Wow.
or maybe cloudy. It could be either or, but yet it was freezing. It was freezing while it was 50 degrees, and that's because the chemical agent is in the air, and when it's touching your body, it's chilling you. Have you noticed that?
Yep, I've been noticing it, that like it's been getting, everything's on repeat. Like it's been getting more noticeable each year. Like I really started to notice it about 3 years ago. With the dramatic changes where the sun would be hot and then there'd be a freezing cold wind. It's like this isn't right. Yeah. And now it's just so obvious. That's what, like, I've been going through that the last week or so with the dramatic change. I think we've even had a bit of snow, and right now I always remember this time of year it always gets really cold about a week leading up to now. I remember that because back when I was in semi-darkness, because I was still looking for truth. Back when I was in semi-darkness, and we'd do the things of this world and like go out drinking for my birthday. It would always be freezing, and I would be annoyed because a week before my birthday it'd be nice and warm, and then suddenly it's cold for my birthday every year. And so that's how I remember the repeating pattern. And this year it got cold, but it was obvious fake cold, because it was just the cold in the air, like you were talking about. It was just the cold in the air. Everything else was hot sun. You could feel the temperature was not dropping like it was supposed to be dropping at this time of year. And so it's nowhere near as cold right now as previous years. It's just not. It's weird. Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit. Yeah. But I hope you rested your throat.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, good.
So, did you have another question, or was there anybody out there with a question that we can?
I can read a couple of the comments. You might have heard me go wow before at pretty much nothing. I don't think you can hear it when it happens. As soon as you mentioned the ice nucleation? Is that what they call it? Is that the technical term? As soon as you mentioned that, the phone started grinding, and I don't know if you can hear it on your end, but it goes straight into the microphone. Jace said there's a lot of military activity up near Canada. And wow, okay, I'll just read it. There's a lot of military activity. I think they're moving north to cut off retreat to Canada, and typo there. I think Mexico were trapped. Hunger Games in the US. That's a good way to describe it, I think. And mainstream's not talking about the hail and the tornadoes in the US, in Washington at the moment. But there's no questions.
Okay, well, let me go into and try to think of any more questions you might have. Okay, or if you find your list, and I'll go into.
I'll have some more. I'll have some more as we go. I did write something down about visions. but I'm not sure how to explain it. When you're talking about the visions, I'm just seeing the parallel, and I've experienced the both sides of it with the frequencies. Like I'm seeing that happening now with people that are searching for the truth, with the false visions, and people are thinking that they're coming from Yeshua, and they're not. They're coming from the false light. Yeah, so I just wanted to vocalize that. I can see the difference, and I can feel the difference, but I don't know if, like, I just want people to be wary, because anything that's false, even if it's a good feeling or a nice, beautiful vision, if it's intense, if there is any intensity about it, or if it feels forced, it's not real. Yeah. If it's real, it doesn't feel forced. It feels beautiful and calm and peaceful, and not intense. And yeah, that's just speaking from my own experience. So yeah.
Right. Well, I have a definition of the union with God. It says in the scriptures of myths, dictionary of scriptures and myths, but of course union with Yahweh, we're talking about the source, or the great Elohim. God is transliterated also great Elohim, depending upon whether it's New or Old Testament in particular. So a symbol, union with the great Elohim, Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, a symbol of the soul's oneness with the higher nature, implying completion, freedom from any tie or attraction to the lower nature. By grace, that's favor for all, Ashan man regains the complete union with Yahweh. So by the favor for all, the grace of what's that scripture, the grace of God that has appeared before all men. I think I'm paraphrasing, but in other words, the fact that he made us, and then and yet he knew that as a lower creation, we had to then choose to come up to a higher level, which is beyond the physical realm. And so he made a provision for us so that we could be saved from this world. And so that's really what's profound about what he's doing. That's why the lower garden is a garden also, because he wants to harvest from the garden the perfect fruits, not the corrupt fruits, the perfect fruits, only the perfect. And that's what we have to put on, is that perfection.
Yeah.
And so by favor for all, grace, man regained the complete union with Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, who is Yeshua, which he had originally. In other words, we came out as a spirit. How that happened? I mean, that nobody can answer that. But we came from the Great Spirit. We came from the Great Spirit somehow, and that's what's eternal in us. The eternal, the compass that continues to go around. The soul, like all things, pre-existed in Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. Pre-existed. There you go. The soul. Here's an answer to your question. The soul, like all things, pre-existed in Yahweh. Okay, pre-existed.
So
from the infinite.
So are they one and the same? Are they both the same thing? Like our soul and our spirit? Are they the same thing? What is the?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Your soul is your spirit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand why there's two different words for it.
Yeah, in other words, if your spirit departed from your body would die. Your spirit is what keeps your body alive.
Yeah.
Just like the sun is what keeps our solar system alive, right?
Yeah.
So the soul of the sun, the soul of your body is what keeps everything ticking, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the sun is a symbol, though. The sun is merely a symbol, and behind it is the Great Spirit. The Spirit came upon the cosmic waters and breathed into it. Okay?
Yes.
Breathed into it. So what the problem we have within this lower realm is that you have a spirit, but it's either male or female. It is not whole. And this is where man and woman come together. They can create life. They cannot do it independently, naturally. And so the spirit, the great spirit of Yahweh and Yeshua is androgynous. It is both male, female. It is complete. It is whole. And therefore, we are divided. We see the evidence of that because we are either male or female. Therefore, as divided creation in the lower realm, we do not have life within us, the true life. Just like we thought about the light being the true garden, that this is part of that great mystery. But that's our dilemma in this lower world, that we are incomplete, and we have to put something on, which is the wholeness, the fullness, the completion. Okay, do you get that?
I do. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Then I was in Yahweh not as this individual man, but as Yahweh, the great Elohim, free from unconditioned and free and unconditioned like him. Then there were no real differences in Yahweh, immanent, in the divine essence. I created the world and myself. This is quoting Yahweh in the metaphor. But by my emanation from him into individual existence, I gave Yahweh his divine nature, his godship, his Elohimic state, Elohimic state. We are Elohim. You see, we means we are seed of light, but yet we fell. We only identify with the darkness, that seed of the moon. Some of us, like Freemasons, think they're light, but they're clearly by their fruit that they're darkness. Okay, and I do give it, and so I give him myself constantly, for I give him that possibility of communicating himself, which constitutes his essence. So just like I am being used as a conduit, as a voice, by surrendering and serving, therefore there is a growth. And he said, if you're loyal with the coin that he gave you, whether it's 1 coin or 5 coins or 10 coins, and if you're loyal with it, then he will say, well done. When he comes back to check you out, see how you're doing. Then he says, well, welcome, come into my realm, my loyal seed. You see, so these are in the parables, but nobody ever defines these parables, at least not that I've heard, and gives a proper interpretation, about the harvest. There was a field, and a man hired his laborers to plant the wheat. Then an enemy came in and planted the tares, which were the weeds. And then they said, didn't you give us good seed? And yet where did these tares come from? And he said, an enemy has planted them. And so they said, should we pluck them out? And he said, no, don't pluck them out now. Let them grow together. And then when we can harvest it at the harvest, then we will take out the weeds and burn them and bring the good grain into our barn. So we have weeds. Not everyone, maybe, but most of, some of us. And so these weeds grow with us while we are learning the truth. We are putting off the world, but at the same time we are struggling. An addiction or of some sort, or a bad habit, anything, and being stupid, anything, and so we have to get rid of these things. We have to grow up and become, full grown in the, or as Paul says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I acted like a child, but in Yeshua, we put on the full mature aspect of His nature. That we there's no good in us. There's nothing good.
Wow.
And as Paul said, there's no one good, not
Wow.
one. And so we put on His nature. We put on His perfection. We put on His qualities that He gave us an example of. We have to walk as He walked. And so that's the alchemy. That's the transformation of our being, so that we can then, He can then have a harvest. And He comes down walking through His garden. He says, well, look at this. NinjaCat's doing everything perfectly. Okay.
Cool.
I think it's time to bring her in, Father.
Well,
All right, let's do it. And then, you're immediately transformed. Those weeds are rooted out of you. That you were asking, praying for it to stop, and hopefully you've perfected most everything. But if there's one last thing left, then it's rooted out of you at that harvest moment, and then you walk free, because as it says in another scripture, a free man is free from sin, which means free from blindness,
yeah.
free from having the eyes closed. Whereas Yoda said, classic statement, one who says they know and does not do admits that they do not know. And so, but it is a work, okay? Even, as it said, faith is a work as well, in one of the scriptures. So continuing here, for I give him that possibility of communicating himself with others, which constitutes his essence. He's reaching out. That's what he does. Yahweh can only comprehend himself through the earthly soul. In other words, we are a manifestation of his pure energy. That's the deep statement. I can't begin to elaborate on that. Insofar as I am immanent in the essence of the deity, he works all his works through me, or through some agent, through someone, through Yeshua first, the mediator, and then through any of those who are sick of this world and want to put him on in truth and purity. And whatever is an object of the divine comprehension, that am I. This breaking through and out from the limitations of the creature's state is the end of all existence and of all change. And what do the politicians always say? We're going to have change. And change is what's left in our pocket after they took everything else from us.
Yeah.
But they're always using that mantra, change.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we were supposed to have things preserved and protected and not change. What kind of change are you talking about? Sounds like that outcome-based education again, right? Because Yahweh does not change, and therefore once we put him on, we become like him, and therefore that is stability, and that is a pattern of perfection, and therefore there's the brotherhood. Yahweh became man that I might become Yahweh, but in the soul is nevertheless not but the soul is nevertheless not annihilated in Yahweh. There remains a little point in which the soul continues to show itself a creation, or we should say new creation. Okay, that's Histories of Philos. That unspeakable joy of life and intensity of individuality which the great Elohim possesses is never knowing what self is, and possessing of choice. His being in the being of the spiritual universe. It is to that look forward, not to a heaven of selfish rewards or a state of selfish rewards, but to this loss of all consciousness of our lower being in union with the being of Yahweh, and to the gain of our true individuality or character, our true character as a royal royal priesthood, in the feeling that we are at one with the individuality of all things. All positive religions expressed for him one and the same truth. All positive religions, meaning those with a pure conveyance. Some more truth and some less adequately, that the supreme end of earthly activity is the union of the soul with Yahweh, whereby it becomes one with Yahweh and is raised above the sphere, the eshafare of sense and reason, the sphere of sense and reason, above nature, out of the ordinary cycle of earthly life and earthly death. What may be called the highest mystery is at the same time the highest truth, whether in the Moeshayim state, or also known as Christianity, or in Neoplatonism, namely the perfect union with great Elohim. Thus, Marcius, circa 330 AD, says in his homilies 14:3, if a nation surrenders his hidden being, that is, his spirit and his thoughts to Yahweh, occupied with nothing else and moved by nothing else, but restraining himself in all things, then the healer in sunrise holds him worthy of the mysteries in much pure holiness and purity. Nay, he offers himself to him as the divine bread and the spiritual drink. That's Max Muller, Theosophy. There's a deep thinker. I've just recently got 2 books in by Max Muller, and just had to pack them. Actually, I was starting to read them, but put them away. Taking a drink. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was having a sip of my coffee as well. All good.
The soul passing out of itself by dying to itself, because that's the wages of, what it say, the wages of blindness is death. The wages of sin is death, so we have to die. So we die metaphysically, not literally, not physically, but metaphysically, in front to this world. We die to this world to live unto Yahweh through his only loved seed, Yeshua. So the soul passing out of itself by dying to itself necessarily passes into its divine object. This is the law of its transition. When it passes out of the self, which is limited, and therefore is not Yahweh, and consequently is blind, it necessarily passes into the unlimited and omniversal universal, which is Yahweh, and therefore is the true perfection, the true light. So long as man cherishes the desire of being himself, something, Yahweh comes does not come to him. Following that ego, that invisible serpent. For no man can become Yahweh, but as soon as he renounces himself sincerely, wholly, and radically, then the great Elohim, Yahweh, alone remains. That's when he reveals himself, his spark hiding within you, and is all in all. Man create no Elohim for himself, but he can renounce himself as the true negation, and then he becomes wholly absorbed in Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. Renunciation is the entrance into the higher life, which is wholly opposed to the lower life, the latter taking its distinctive character from the existence of a self. The way towards the blessed. Every existence tends toward the higher, the first unity, to obtain perfection. The whole universe is one complex. The lower emanates from the higher, and is its image, is its image. But the divine potentiality is active in each. Love and yearning for the original source of being and the desire of divine perfection are the principles of motion common for all the created. And that is the definition there. Since I have it here in front of me, I'll do unleavened bread. This is following in the definitions here.
Okay. Just quickly, I just want to say goodbye to Lynn. Lynn's got to go. So love you, and have a beautiful day with your mum. Yeah. Sorry.
I was saying thank you for stopping by, Lynn.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All good. Yeah. Yeah. Just have a beautiful day, Lynn. Always creating light for you. So yeah, please continue, Desert.
Okay, unleavened bread, a symbol of purification through perfection and truth. Leaven, which is sourdough, in this case standing for desires and lower emotions. Purge out the sourdough, the old leaven, that you may be a new lump. Even as you are, that's because a little leaven ruins everything. Just put a little bit in and the entire loaf is ruined. Even as you are unleavened, be unleavened. For our Pesach, our Passover, also have been sacrificed, even the Moishiach. Wherefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. 1 Corinthians 5, 7, and 8. The Moishiach, Christ, that Passover that hath been sacrificed, refers to the divine sacrifice in involution, and the passing over to the present state of evolution, in which the divine love, travain, love, arises from within in measure as it is called forth by the most advanced qualities or virtues in the soul. These qualities then are exhorted to continue their purification, no longer by means of the discipline of authority and more ethical coercion, or of the strife of passion and desire, but by the gentle means of unblemished perfection and sincere love of truth, thereby purging the mind of its lower qualities, the old leaven. It says, see bread, crucifixion of Christ, food, leaven, man, natural manna, Passover, sacramental cakes, sacrifices, showbread. Lots of references that follow these definitions. Highly recommend people consider getting a copy of this work for their own edification. We need to be inspired as much as possible, and when our scriptures are handed to us and corrupted, it's really we're at a real disadvantage, and that's of course what we talk about here. And just want to point out that in the book that I touched on the other day, which is the Essene book of Aisha, confirming what I was saying about Aisha all along.
Yeah.
Henceforth, so in there, with the symbols, it was giving that came through the Mithraism with out of Persia, another what looks like another parallel to our Christianity, a profound spiritual culture that ultimately became corrupted by priesthoods as well. They infiltrate everything. That's the way it goes. But I'm talking about the pure Mithraic tradition before it went to Rome as a secret society. Just like the word Christianity is not what we think it is. It is not the word that we're supposed to use because it is not from our Eastern tradition. Actually, it would be the Moeshiach. Moeshiach would be the Christ, the anointed one who came through the water and the fire. But I want to point out that in these symbols he's got here, the letter I, which is the stick with the dot on top of it, what we call the small, or the minuscule I, letter I, with the stick with the dot, that's sort of like a column with a supporting an orb, where that little I is actually negative force or energy, negative energy. And as I pointed out, it is the blind. It is the blind that they use within our alphabet, within our letters, to hide the truth from us.
Wow.
By switching out the words, rearranging the words, with the vowels.
Yeah.
So typically you throw the letter I out of the word, and that's how you begin. You just throw all the I's out because they are the occultic code that's blind. And it's interesting that in all the small letters, it's actually the only one that has two parts, right?
Wow.
All the others are, you know what I'm saying?
Does it?
Not above it. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. But my surname has an I in it, and I really want to switch it to a Y. Yeah. Is that?
You can do that. My last name has an I in it also, so I know it's correctly, spelled with the Y. But you have to go through legal. You have to get this. You remember you're still a slave in the system. You have to get their permission to do it, and then carry that paperwork with you wherever you go. So don't get too caught up in it. It's not going to hurt you in any way to have it that way.
Okay, good. I was getting a bit worried because just because of all
it
the
doesn't affect us that way. But when we're trying to transliterate words correctly, it's important.
Okay.
And then what was interesting is that just on my reading this morning, as I'm continuing to go through the book, on page 27, it says here, and this most ancient of all philosophies found its most profound expression in the exquisite language of the art of Asia. Okay? So literally it's called the language, the art of Asia. The word art may not be correct. It is the diction of Asia. It is actually the diction of Asia. So that was the point I was making for the last better part of a year.
Yes.
That, as I discovered, the original form of Isa or Isha was Aisha for the woman.
Yes.
And like Asia Minor, Asia Minor.
Yeah, I remember.
Asia Minor means the smaller part of the property, and it doesn't mean that. It means the light of the woman, the royal eye of light, Asia Minor, the menorah. And so I'm still, discovering aspects of this word Asia in this book that is just amazing. I'll read it again. And this most ancient of all philosophies found its most profound expression, the philosophy of the spiritual truth it was just conveying in the preceding paragraphs. And this most ancient of all philosophies found its most profound expression in the exquisite language of the art of Asia. And it was just talking about the laws of nature, basically. That's what it's about. It's the royal eye is the Asia. We are supposed to have a royal eye, and that's what allows us to identify, of course, with Yeshua and with the message, and to read the shultres, the scriptures, and to hopefully pierce the veil and see through it, to go beyond the corruption, which all of our scriptures are corrupt. They're taken over by occultic priesthoods. That's the nature of this world. And it was already predetermined. They didn't pull a trick on Yahweh or Yeshua. It was predetermined that this is the way it is. This is the way it was going to be. So that's why in the book of Genesis, the first book, Galnesha, and the book is correctly called Galnesha, as in lieu of Genesis, when we back engineer it, we have the story about Amalek. And Amalek means false messenger. Malik means royal messenger. So when you put a vowel A, not a consonant, the first letter of the alphabet, but a vowel A in front of Malik, and you pronounce it, it's A Malik, and it literally means false messenger. So that which is speaking. In other words, if we're talking the duality, and there's two A's that represent the picture. Okay, the one that is silent is the one that is true. The one that is silent is there behind it. But the one that is speaking is the ass, A for ass, because it is the corrupt traditions that are pretending to be of the light when they're of the darkness. So the ass is speaking, but behind it is the true one, waiting to reveal himself for those who sincerely pursue him through the false traditions.
Wow.
And then he brings them out of it, come out from among them, and be a separate people. So Malik means false messenger. And so when we hear the story about the Phoenician king, Malik, it says, and because he's a symbol, remember as we were reading about symbols, he represents something in this underlying story. He wasn't just a king, but in this storyline, it says that our battle in the scriptures in Genesis, our battle with Amalek will be throughout all time. Our battle with Amalek will be throughout all time, which therefore creates the metaphor of Amalek being the false messenger. Our battle with the false messenger, that is the false messages, will be throughout all time.
Wow.
And isn't that what we're dealing with?
That is what we're dealing with, Desert. Wow. Just wow, you've done it again. My head's spinning. Wow.
Yeah. Well, imagine I had to have it revealed to me by Yeshua. You're able to get it, and our friends listening in are able to get it without having to do the legwork.
Yes.
That my journey involved. In other words, I had nobody but Yeshua to reveal these things to me and to point me in the right directions to get the revelation, to get the picture, and so that's where, we continually we refer to symbols. I go and get my books on symbolism because I want people to recognize the value of an image. That the image, whether it's a letter of the alphabet or an image in nature, if it's an image in nature, then it's of the higher attic. The higher attic, like in the attic, it means at the top of the house. So it's way up there, and it's of a higher order. So the letters are of a lower form in the sense that, they're really of a higher form. They're very sophisticated. Actually, it's the other letters, like in the Demotic, what looks like Syriac or today's Syriac called the Strangula, or the Arabic, or the Pseudo-Sanskrit, which is not the original Sanskrit. All of them look so pathetic that you would not want. They look like chicken scratch, and you wouldn't want to have to learn them. You could not pay me, okay, to learn any of them. All right, not to read that stuff, because I'm already connected, with the most powerful alphabet of them all, which is the one that they now use for their merchant code, and the capital letters, which they call Phoenician, but it predates the Phoenicians, goes back to when it was breathed into Hadam, and so I'm reading the trickery that they're playing now in that book on the Aryan alphabet. I've shared. I'm not going to do it today, but so it is.
Can I? Yeah. Sorry, just before it leaves my mind and never comes back. When you said attic, the attic is at the top of the house, like you said, and I was just picturing the A and the shape of a traditional roof of a house being the shape of an A. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an A structure.
Yeah.
It's called the A, and we would the attic, the ATT. There's the crosses as well. It's even showing the symbols of the sun, what's in front of the sun and the moon, the T's, the Atec, and then the Tech is there for technology. technology.
Wow.
It's not atic. There's the I. See, the I is a corruption. Change the I into an E, and you get atek. Atek is the AT for the alphabet, and it's tech. It's the highest is the atek, the alphabet of technology. That is primary in creation. Without the ability to communicate, nothing happens. It begins. That's the primary science.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did not expect. Oh, wow! I did not expect that from that observation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have we call A-frames,
Yeah.
and I built A-frames for setting pylons when I was building beach houses.
Yeah.
Way back when, and so we have a thing that an artist will use, and and it comes out, and like a stand. It's got 3 legs, and then it has a rail, and you can put a board on there, and you can write on it, right?
The easel.
Okay, thank you. So it's called an easel, right? But they're lying to us again. It's not an E cell. It's an A cell. Isn't it not creating the shape of an A when its legs come out?
Yes.
It's an A cell, but they have to lie to us about everything, you see? They don't want us getting the picture right there in front of us, the A cell.
Yeah, but once you start seeing it, like I'm so not, at anywhere near your level. But once you start seeing the big picture and the repeating patterns, and wow, yeah. Sorry, please continue.
I'm done.
Really?
Any follow up? Any questions out there? People come here and listen. I'm just amazed that we don't have more people coming on and bringing their questions on. Okay, Desert, like, where do you get this stuff? Come on, tell me. Put me to the test. But I think they're getting it. That's what's important.
Yeah, I try my hardest. Like, I try and, like, I ask questions, based on my curiosity and what I'm seeing, but I also try and put myself in the chat as well, like ask questions from that perspective. Yeah. So, and I try and lead by example. So if anyone has a question, please put Desert in capital letters in the chat so that we can see it, and Desert can answer it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, my throat's not doing too good today.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I may not. Our attempt to do a broadcast on Monday failed on Forbidden History Live with Shelley.
Yeah, I saw the attempt. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were thinking of doing it tonight. I'm not sure with my voice. We may just wait till Friday. I'll have to make a decision later, but definitely by Friday. Excuse me. I want to do a program, so I'll just see how it goes. And all right. And so I guess we're good then. We've covered everything we need to cover.
Yeah.
Let me see what I got on symbols. Maybe I'll give you one.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was just gonna say we have done a lot of damage tonight, going by all the technical glitchiness. Yeah. Yeah, but please continue. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I am looking for a. Oh, there it is. Okay. My post-it note disappeared. I got post-it notes all over my books here. Okay, so crow. I had interesting definition on crow. There's crossroads under crow. I remember there was an interesting definition there, but I'll do crow.
Okay.
And because it was the raven that was sent out, remember, from Noah's Ark, and it didn't come back. And so there's something about the raven, and it's interesting because Rav is Rab, where we get the word rabbi from, and that's why the priesthoods were black.
Yeah.
So there's something in that I'm trying to see indeed.
Yeah, I remember you
But,
talking about that on one of the Chronicles.
But,
yeah.
Because of its black color, the crow is associated with the idea of beginning. Why? Because in the beginning there was nothing but a void and it was dark. And then the light entered in and boom, there was light. So the raven does represent the beginning. And as expressed in such symbols as the maternal night. So even the nighttime, the dark, the void is being called mother, maternal night. Primigenial, darkness, the fertilizing for the earth. Because it is also associated with the atmosphere, it is a symbol of creative demiurgic power. And for this spiritual strain, because of its flight, that's called the astral plane. In other words, that's where we are at in our spiritual journey. We're in the astral plane. We're looking at the stars. We're reading the points of light, and we're waiting. We're hoping to be close to the early dawn, when then we have our sunrise. When we have our sunrise, and the symbolism is when we rise from the dead, and then we're in the daytime. And so that's how nature is speaking. Okay, so because of its flight, it is considered a messenger. And in some, the crow has been invested by many primitive peoples with far-reaching cosmic significance. Indeed, for the red Indians of North, they're not Indians. The red traditionals, the Indians were property of the East India Trading Company, and that's why they call them Indians. But these red traditional peoples of North America, it is the great civilizer and the creator of the visible world. It has a similar meaning for the Celts and the Germanic tribes, as well as in Siberia. In the classical cultures, it no longer possesses such wide implications, but it does still retain certain mystic powers, and in particular, the ability to foresee the future. Hence, its caw played a special part in the rite of divination. In Christian symbolism, it is an allegory of solitude. Amongst the alchemists, it recovers some of the original characteristics ascribed to it by the primitives, standing in particular for negrido, or the initial state, which is both the inherent characteristic of prime matter and the condition produced by separating out of the elements. Putrefacto. An interesting development of crow symbolism is the representation of it with three legs drawn within a solar disk. There's that tripod again, and that's what it represents here, the three, sun, earth, and moon. And that's why Orion's belt has three stars, because it says with three, everything is held together. The symbol of the belt, three stars, holds everything up. In this form, it is the first of the Chinese imperial emblems and represents yang, which means then far away, or the active, we see in the word yang, yangke, angle, angel, all these words come out of the ang. And also then implies the sun for the Y with the yellow, meaning the that which is far away. It represents the yang, or the active life of the emperor. The three legs correspond to the sun symbolism of the tripod. The first light or rising sun, zenith, or midday sun, and then the setting sun. So the rising sun, the midday sun, high noon, and then the setting sun. The reason they call the Yellow River in China, it sounds like a putrid name for a river, right? Go yellow? Okay, give me a break. But the reason they call it, they didn't translate it correctly. You see, it's not the Yellow River. It is the River of Light.
Wow,
see? That's what it should be called.
That makes
that's
sense.
How they don't want it. They hate the light. Remember, the occult hates the light, so they call it the Yellow River instead of the River of Light.
Yeah. Yeah, I had, while you were saying that, I had the Golden River going through my head. I was getting there.
That would be another aspect of it, right? That'd be a better way if you're going to use a collar. In Beaumont's view, the crow itself signifies the isolation of him who lives on a superior plane. This being the symbolism in general of all solitary birds. And there's an axiom that says you don't want to eat crow. And I found out the hard way when I was in Colorado and didn't have any food. And I shot a couple crows. And I could have died from dysentery. It was pretty bad.
Wow. And, did it taste nasty?
No, I couldn't even eat. It was rubber. It was like, I used a wood burning stove out there at the cabin, and basted it and everything. And I threw out the crow and just ate the stuffing, and that was enough to get me sick.
Wow.
Because they're parasites. They eat, they eat dead things and what have you. So they're not clean birds.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. All my friends when I was growing up always loved to shoot crows, so I figured they hunted them. That's what I thought. I was a city slicker. I didn't know better. So yeah, now I know what it means to eat crow. Okay, and you don't want to do it.
Thank you for the heads up. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, because if you're starving, you'd rather drink water. Okay, just drink water until you can find some food, but don't eat crow.
Don't eat crow.
Yeah. Unless the only possibility would be to put it in a pressure cooker. That might be the way, but I would.
Yeah, but if you're starving, you probably wouldn't have access to a pressure cooker.
And then here's one more on symbolism, state of mind. The symbolist idea that the different worlds are so many different states of being, crystallized into different orders of matter and form with their corresponding expressive characteristics, and that they can be systematized in their diversity within a scale or series after the manner of the regular figures of geometry. Colors or sounds can be equally well be taken the other way round, in which case the state of being, which from the psychological point of view are represented as corresponding emotional states, that is, as varying states of mind comparable with the emotional expressions particular to each one of the musical modes, severe, ecstatic, anguished, enthusiastic, active, erotic, melancholic. These states of being then come to be represented as certain definite kinds of landscape in which the additional symbolism of level, of symmetry, of light, and color all play a definite part. Okay? I can tell you're speechless.
I am. I don't know what to say. It's just boggles the mind, and just constant wows, Desert. Just every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
it's amazing.
We have to get the picture. Yeah, and that's the greatest challenge. That's where I had to learn to connect with my invisible, who is all things. It's when you say invisible, yet he constitutes everything. He is in all things because he's the first atom, but yet his spirit is invisible. How does it work? That is, of course, the greatest mystery of them all. The good news is that it does work, and that we have a Redeemer that wants to offer us life in a day without end. That we had the opportunity to find an existence, and yet the objective is to find the true existence within his nature, within the higher nature, because we're in the lower nature down here. And so it's a great work, it's a great mystery, and only those who give it 110% of their full attention, of their full effort. He says he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him, not passively seek him, not 45 minutes on Sunday, where somebody's going to tell you you're saved, and yet you never had to figure anything out.
Yeah.
You never had to do double time in having the mysteries revealed for you. Those people are all deceived. They're all deluded, and they still do the things that are contrary to the Spirit and to the truth, the way it is in the royal house of the Son, according to the Scripture. And so it is it's a great work, and even those who dedicate their lives to this effort, it says that many will seek to enter in, and yet only few are going to be saved. What a profound statement, a profound statement, because you have to die to this world, and you have to live for the higher order as a separate people, and separate yourself, from the activities that are contrary to the Spirit, and then you find yourself, I think there's an axiom that says you'll discover the truth, and the truth will make you a fugitive. You'll discover the truth, and the truth will make you very alone, because there's nobody going. That's the way it looks.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of people have religion, but they can't even, and the truth is not a part of any lie, and therefore, how can it be they can't interpret the words? They can't interpret the trickery. They don't investigate. They say, oh, okay, I'm saved. Just give me King James, and it's good. I'm good to go. All right, just whisper a prayer in my heart, Jesus, forgive me, and boom, 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 bang, boom, and I'm, already got the Spirit. I'm saved, and I didn't have to do anything really. That's how the darkness lies to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a process that is being presented within these stories, like Lazarus. Lazarus was the example of one who dies to the world and then is risen, so becomes a second born, and that's but in prior to 3 days symbolizes the 3 ages of time, before the flood, after the flood, and then when Yeshua brought us the truth, the golden age of light, the age of the second born. And so the being in the grave means that we are in Him for 3 days. In Him, in this age, we are in Him in the grave until He says, Lazarus, come forth, ray of light, you becoming a ray of light, come forth, because you have done everything you were supposed to do. Your oil lamp is now lit, the olive oil of truth, and you are now able to receive the bridegroom. And He comes into you as Spirit, and you then live with Him on earth as a sovereign with the sovereign, on earth, and death no longer has dominion over you, and so therefore there is no second death, because you are alive forevermore by the Spirit that has married you. That is the great mystery. Nobody says it like this. I know that.
I know that too, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, my history. I've only just discovered the real truth. Yeah, and thank you to your program, the Forbidden History series, for helping me see that. Yeah, nobody is saying this. Nobody is saying it how you say it. I was just backing you up. Yep.
Well. Anyway, we've got a long way to go and a short time to get there.
Yeah.
And that's why. I didn't have this full presentation 5 years ago. It was like, okay, I've just gone through 4 decades, 40 years coming out of the wilderness, and now I'm able to state that there was a lot of discoveries over the last year,
Yeah.
a lot of discoveries over the last 5 years that were paramount. I had to lose my apartment in Georgia and be homeless for the better part of a year, and just read books 12 hours a day, and well, now then I remember. Then I knew why I was carrying those books with me for the previous 20 plus years or whatever it was. It was because these books were. I carried my most important ones. I got rid of a lot of books on the trail because I couldn't carry them all with me. But these books I knew that I had, couldn't part with. Ultimately, then when I started reading them again, or reading them for the first time, or finishing them when I never finished them, and covering those additional pages, so much opened up, and so our legacy is within the history. The history is forbidden, but yet the truth comes out about our history, through other researchers, through other people who are at the right place at the right time, or saw the missing artifact or the thing that we weren't supposed to see, and then they talk about it, write about it, and like this one book on the Aryan tongue, and they mentioned in there Flinders Petrie several times, and he was an archaeologist out of Maitzer, falsely called Egypt, and so he was right there, and what he saw with his own eyes, he conveyed, but yet it's not mentioned by all the other authors. They don't want the truth out, so because all truth is controlled by the academia, all the colleges are under the corporatism of the Vatican, so they're only allowed to talk about what they're allowed to talk about, and that's it. That's why they're called these professors are called tenured. They're tenured because it means they have 10 ears. 10 ears because they can't hear, and they can only hear what they're told to hear. Tenure, You get it?
I do.
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why when you go pay, you pay to go to college, you have to pay your tuition, and that's your intuition. You have to give up your intuition, your free thinking to toe the line of the 10 ear.
Yeah, it just made me think of tinnitus and the ringing in the ears. That's makes it difficult to hear. And the word kind of, I don't know, it just made me think of that. Yeah.
So there's no end to the trail, Ninja, and we'll pick it up, I guess, on Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And thank you for creating the forum, okay? And hope you can pull it all together within your own sphere, and your and live forever. We're not doing this thing for fun and games. We're doing it because we know our lives are important and they're serious.
Yeah.
It's a serious matter, life and death.
It is. I don't like to use the word, but how desperate I've been lately to just be able to get some, like, I'm desperate to get some time to read. I'm desperate. So yeah, thank you for doing this tonight as well, with your sore throat and everything. So thank you. At the moment, this is my lifeline. So
you can do a test. You can try reading for your mom, and she may walk out the room, and then you got her. Either she's going to listen or she's going to go, but one or the other.
Yeah.
That's why maybe you can do reading. You have to be creative.
Yeah, maybe. I'll just I can just see the
gospel.
Yeah, I know. I can just see the reaction being confusion more than anything.
I see.
Yeah, but that's just me. I don't know because I haven't tried it. I could very well start reading something, and we know how powerful it is. It could have the opposite effect. So I don't know. But yeah, thank you.
We'll just keep making your petitions before Yeshua.
Yeah.
And he very often I found that in a dramatic type of an emergency situation, he has worked quickly, so fast that it was literally, you knew it was, he just answered you. That's happened to me. But then also in situations that are not so dramatic or drastic, but but yet, so then he may be longer before he answers. What we have to put on is the pattern of continually asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Whether it's for the spirit or whether it's for the alternative place to go for for your sanity and the ability to do your reading.
Yeah.
All that. So the consistency is important because nothing in this world stays the same other than the truth. So you know that your situation will change.
Yeah.
No matter what. That happens. It's part of nature that everything is in flux, and so everything is temporary, other than the truth in Yeshua. So just hang in there, because this is your proving ground for you, and you can make it through. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. I will. And and thank you again for doing this with just you improved as we went along tonight. You sounded like you were struggling with your throat a lot at the start, and now you're sounding a lot better. So there you go. Yeah, I think that's a little miracle in itself there. Desert?
Absolutely. Okay, Ninja, then I'm going to let you go, and you be well, all right?
Okay,
and
you too.
See you on Sunday if we don't hear from you sooner, okay?
Okay, I'm creating light for you, always.
Yeah, and thank you. And also, it's possible we may do a program tonight on Forbidden History Live. I will know later on. But do subscribe, okay? Forbidden History Live, produced by Shelley out here in California. So
I'll put the link in the
but we definitely will be doing it by Friday.
Yeah,
Friday, okay?
I'll put the link in the description. Also, while I've got you here, sorry, I almost had Skype ready to go, but there was a technical difficulty. Windows 10 didn't like the version of Skype that I currently had, so I had to download a different one, a different Skype. But yeah, it should be, if I can get time to play around with it, I want to have it ready for Sunday, so we'll give that a go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good, Ninja.
Okay.
We'll talk to you later then, and be well down there in all the insanity you're having to deal with in Australia, just like us up here. Be safe.
Okay. Yeah, you too. Be safe.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. See ya. Okay, and that was Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that one as well. Go back and go back to June 21st last year, 2018, and listen to his live streams from the start. And feel free to contact me. My email is in all the descriptions on these streams for the PDFs. And you can see and read it for yourself. It's so powerful when you have the literature there to read along with it. And ya love, thank you, ya love, love you. And ya love does readings as well in original thought. She reads the original gospel translated in original thought as she goes along in Desert's live streams. So yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, I highly recommend it, and it makes it easier to understand where Desert's coming from at this stage in the Chronicles. And also, please subscribe to Forbidden History Live, as Desert was saying. I will put a link in the description if it's not already there. I'm not sure, I have to check. Okay, love you guys. I want to play Desert's flute music, but that was had a bit of, it sounded similar to what was going on with the phone actually. So we'll go for something else. I just have to find it. And we're live. Okay, love you guys. Creating light for you always, and I'll see you Sunday.